I've learned a number of lessons from the pandemic. The most important are about the features of life that we once took for granted. As I reflect on these things, there is one that stands out. It's something that we've always had in this country, something our forefathers fought for and something we've lost. In Auckland, we're struggling without it. It's called freedom. I'm missing our freedom. Sure, I can go to do my work from home. It's not ideal, not as productive as I prefer, but some things take longer. Recruitment is riskier when we can't meet with the candidates. Negotiations take longer when we can't sit around the table and work through the issues. Building cultures and business planning is almost impossible on a Zoom call, but we're getting by. But freedom, that's a different story. Freedom is to do what we want to do. A morning's coffee with a colleague, a beer with some mates, a swim at the local pool, maybe a barbecue with friends, a visit to my mum, perhaps a weekend away, or even the ability to jump on a plane and have a holiday. A break from the madness, if you like. Sadly, I've come to the conclusion that this is a government that has become increasingly comfortable taking our freedoms away. You see, the more you do something, the more comfortable you become doing it. After a while, it becomes automatic, even if what you're doing is wrong. Here's the problem. Apparently, it takes just 21 days to learn a new habit, and our political leaders have fallen into the habit of taking our freedom without even giving it a second thought. This week, we heard the Deputy Prime Minister on News Talk ZB implying that we citizens were fortunate that we were gradually opening up Auckland. When challenged by radio host Heather du Plessis-Allen about why Auckland retailers were not able to open sooner given the city's vaccination rates, he responded with a threat that the government could sit here and do nothing. His response prompted petulance from the angry radio host, and rightly so. Such a comment can only come from someone who has developed a level of complacency around the continuation of lockdowns and who is therefore comfortable. By Wednesday, it was worse. Laughable even. When discussing the prospect of Christmas holidays, COVID-19 Response Minister Chris Hipkins suggested one of the options being considered was vaccinated holidaymakers could be allocated a time slot advising them of when they could travel out of Auckland for Christmas holidays. Excuse me, this is not even laughable. It's disgraceful. North Korea, here we come. I think these complacent politicians living in their Wellington bubbles need to hear a few facts, so I'm hoping they're reading this. You see, while those making the decisions that are affecting our lives, they are collecting their paychecks every month, while there are New Zealanders who are not. Their businesses are on the hold indefinitely. The busiest time of year is about to pass them by, and even if they can go back to work one day, their debt and stress levels are unthinkable. It's no wonder these people are at breaking point. While our government ministers, together with their respective officials, pop off to their forthcoming European jaunts, Auckland is locked down, the South Island is suffering. They've only had one COVID case in the past year, and yet their borders remain closed. Cantabrians are 75% double-dosed. The southern region, 78%. Both are more protected than most Australian states that have already emerged from lockdowns. The South Island remains at level 2. Their borders are closed, their freedom is clamped. And I have no doubt that one of the greatest tragedies of all of this mess lies in the group of New Zealanders who want to come home but can't. We are not hearing enough of their stories. Apparently, we have to make room in our MIQ systems for criminals who are deported from other countries, and the entourage accompanying our government ministers on their overseas jaunts. But the average law-abiding Kiwi who just wants to come home, we put them into a poorly organised raffle each week. There are about 30,000 such people, Kiwis, our people, stranded in all parts of the world, incurring unnecessary accommodation costs with overseas work permits and visas expired. Then there are those needing to return to a dying relative. Some just want to come home for Christmas, and we are not allowing them to come home. Surely this is a fundamental breach of government responsibility above everything else. We have acknowledged that we're living with COVID in our community. We have 77% of our country double vaccinated. In Auckland, the proportion is 85%. We have over 700 COVID positive patients self-isolating at home. And yet, we have 30,000 Kiwis overseas who are double vaccinated. All but a few will test negative before getting on the plane bound home. Why can't these people be allowed to travel home, self-isolate for 7, 10 or 14 days? For some reason, we won't let them. We seem to worry that they might not take their isolation seriously. So charge them a $1,000 bond, which they forfeit if they break the rules. It's not hard. But get them home. We must welcome with open arms every New Zealander who wants to come home. But sadly, as one party asserts control, another loses freedom. Curbing freedoms is becoming more and more a feature of this government. It all started with daily updates. June, 1 p.m, and from a single source of truth, they said in lockdowns. Confiscating water assets, centralising healthcare, centralising education. It's not hard to see the arrogance that comes with such behaviours leads to stifled democracy. While the lockdown people are tired and frustrated, our politicians place unelected representatives into councils and boards, taking control of newly centralised education and healthcare, and rewrite school history curriculums, all such roads leading to further curbs of freedoms of our people. Here's the problem. There's an awful lot of take going on, and people just need some give. The give should include the government that can run confident border policy, pandemic preparedness such as hospital capacity and ICU enhancement, and a vaccine program that is informed, well managed and timely. Our government has failed on each of these measures. Their only solution is to confiscate our freedoms. The failures have been theirs. However, in order for their freedoms to be maintained, they are happy to change the rules. We're all aware that the PM is refusing to come to Auckland during lockdown. Her list of excuses has become longer and lamer as journalists quite rightly pressure her on the matter. The PM will be visiting Auckland on Monday. She will be visiting a city that's very different. A city of people that are tired and oppressed. A city of people whose freedoms have been eroded and their livelihoods destroyed. A people are beyond frustrated and in many cases are now angry. People who want their family members to come home and their kids to go to school. People who have played their part staying at home and becoming vaccinated. People who are now being told by an increasing authoritarian government whether and when they can have Christmas holidays. Many years ago, I observed that an incompetent manager will often limit the opportunity of their team or their organisation by slowing things down to a pace that he or she can cope with. We are all learning now that an incompetent government can do the same. When one party asserts control, another loses freedom. This article, published in the New Zealand Herald on Saturday the 6th of November 2021, was written by Bruce Cottrell, who was a company director and advisor to business leaders.